Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pop. This video tutorial in Ubuntu Basics shows you how you can use the editor of Calibre to make numbered and bulleted lists. I've got the Calibre program open and I'm about to open up the viewer of the program, and I'm also going to go to the editor. You can hit V and T to open up both the viewer and the editor. As I page down, this is the viewer and this is the editor. It's the same thing. We'll start off by talking about LI. LI in brackets produces a default solid circle bullet. Any text in between LI will appear here to the right of the bullet. The bullet goes all the way to the left margin and text wraps to the left margin. There is no outdenting. The editor has an icon which you can use to put in more bullets. The icon's up here, and all you have to do is go to the place in the text where you want to insert a bullet, and then tap on that icon and type in LI, hit enter. When you hit enter, the icon pair is created and there's no text in between the two angled brackets, but the bullet is created, and then you can type in your text. And let me just put in some text here, and there it is. Alternately, if you've already got some text, you can highlight it and then add the bullet. So let me put in some text real quick here. The text appears right here. Now I'm going to highlight that text, and then you go to the drop down, tap LI, and that produces the bullet. The default bullet is a solid circle, but you can alter that, and you put in a style command. You've got your first LI, which is bracket LI final bracket, and in between you'll put in this style command, style equal quote list dash style dash type colon circle semicolon quote, and then the final angle bracket, and that produces a non-solid circle. Here I've added square, so we've got three altogether. There's circle, square, and default. Over here in the text, here are the actual commands. Circle, square, default has no style. New concept, UL, that's unordered list. That means bullets. There's also, later I'm going to show OL, ordered list. That means numbers. They could have used, instead of UL and OL, I suppose, NL for numbered list and BL for bulleted list, but we're stuck with OL and UL. Now, a couple of things happen here. When you wrap UL around the LI, two blank lines show up, one on top, one on bottom. Another thing happens. The bullet is over in the left margin, but text now wraps underneath the other text, and the bullet is outdented. Those blank lines are very persistent. Even if you put some text right after the UL, another blank line pops up above that text, and then of course you've got the one at the bottom. You can put in a command to get rid of the top blank line and the bottom blank line with a style command. So here I put in top 0, bottom 0. Please notice that the style command is inside of the UL brackets, following the letters UL and following blank space. Also, there are two commands, so they are separated by a semicolon. Also, all of the style commands are in quotation marks. This is a little bit more compact a command because I've hit all four of them. Margin colon top, right, bottom, left. All the margins are set to 0 and there are no blank lines. If you want to, you can leave that style command out but still get the same effect by putting this exact same command inside of the cascading style sheet rather than in the text itself. I drew a line through it just to emphasize that, but this would be the command that you put inside of the cascading style sheet. The syntax is a little bit different. You have got curly brackets, and I'm going to go over to the cascading style sheet to show you what it looks like. Now, in the editor here, we're in text, and we're in this HTML chunk right now, but I'm going to collapse this temporarily, and I'm going to go to Styles, and here is the style sheet. And when I tap it, I have to go over and find alphabetically UL if it's in there. You don't have to put it in there. You can put it in the text all the time. You don't have to put it in at all. Now, I do have it in here, but I've got it temporarily zeroed out. And I'm going to temporarily unzero it out, and there it is. So this would affect every single piece of text, every HTML chunk inside of the ebook, unless, of course, there is conflicting text which will override this CSS command inside of the text. So I'm now going to zero it out again. In this example, I put in style in the text to say that all of the LIs are going to be circles. I don't have to put it in the LI circle because the UL controls all of the LIs unless the LI overrides it. So after the circle command, I said that the margins are 0, 0, 0, and then the left is 2EM, so it's indented. In this example, everything is turned into squares because I put it in the UL. If you style UL, all of the LI are styled the same way. And no margin commands in the text, so only CSS margin commands, if there are any, will be followed. In this example, the style is none, so there are no bullets showing, and all of the LIs will have no bullets showing. You can kind of combine them together like this so that you can have emphasis on one. So there's one bullet right here on the center LI, and this LI command overrides the UL command, which brackets all of the UL command brackets all of the LIs. So in order of precedence, this one's first, this one's second, and then the CSS command is the most general one, and it's last. Here's another example. Square overrides circle, overrides anything in the CSS. LI always overrides UL. UL always overrides CSS. To say it again with emphasis, square overrides circle, overrides CSS. Let's say, for instance, that there is a CSS command, UL list style none. The order of precedence is LI, UL, then CSS. So none is totally ignored. I cannot emphasize this enough. The order of precedence in the cascade is LI, then UL, then CSS, and it does not even matter if there is a CSS command, because the command in the text will override it. The UL wrapper is overridden by the more immediate LI. Now we got a new concept. We were talking about UL and LI. Now we're going to OL, and OL is the numbers, and this is the default number. It's a number followed by a dot followed by a space. I told the margin to be 3em, so it's indented. Now this is significant. The indentation is significant because if you do not indent these things, sometimes the numbers, because they are wider than a mere bullet, they'll go off screen. I'm going to show you that by going into the actual ebook reader. Now, the ones that are the worst offenders are Roman numerals because they take up a lot of space. They will run off screen unless you give it a left margin. Same deal with the top and bottom. I told it to be 0 and 0, so there's no blank lines. Here is the left. You can vary that left margin as needed. Here I put in 1em. But you're going to have to put in something with numbers because otherwise they're going to run off screen. I'd like to demonstrate that run off screen business because this one here has a left margin of 0. Now I'm in the editor. What you're looking at right here is the editor. You can tell because there's the different chunks over there, and this is the text with the commands, and this is more or less what the viewer looks like, but I'm going to go to the actual viewer now. I'll screen up, and this is the actual viewer. Now this is the ebook itself as a person reading the ebook would see it. There is no editing function here. I'm going to screen down and we will look at the different margins. Now this is 3, and you can see it's indented over here. Next screen, that's 2. It's indented a little bit less. Now here's 1. It's indented still yet less, but look what happens when you go to 0. You lose the 1 dot space and the 2 dot space, so you're going to have to put in some kind of margin there. With bullets, they just are all the same in appearance, but with numbers, they auto number. They start with 1, then 2, then 3, and so on, and there's an intelligence built in. Now, if I put in a number in between 1 and 2 here, that number that I put in will turn to 2, and this 2 will turn to 3. So let me demonstrate that. I'm going to go over to the text here, and I'm going to find the place in the editor here where I can insert. So we're going to put in an LI right here, and when I put in an LI, it's going to put in just the number. I won't have the text at first. So here I'm just going to type in LI, enter, and watch what happens when I hit enter. Takes a second. There it is. It put in a 2, and then this 2 turned into a 3. Then you want to put in some text. And that's how it works. The default numbering system is just regular old numbers with a dot after it, but you can change the numbering system. This is the default. It's the type 1. Now if you want to go alphabet, this is capitals, lowercase, uppercase Roman numerals, lowercase Roman numerals, and you put in a type command. So you just say type equals 1 I, and that will change these around to anything that you want to. There's dual nomenclature, and that's kind of bothersome and burdensome. It's of course easier and shorter to put in type equal quote capital I, quote. The other way you can put it in is with a long-winded style command. Style equal, quote, list dash style dash type colon upper dash Roman, and then the next command semicolon. And then there's the margin commands, final quote, final angle. So you see how these are different. This line right here is exactly the same as what takes two lines up here. This is shorter. They're exactly the same. Now, again, I got to point out the Roman numerals protrude so much that if you want to, you can put in an OL command, not UL, but OL command inside of the style sheet and just set this to 3 all the time. Or, if you want to, you can put that command one at a time in the text. In this one, I set the left margin at 5 EM, and they're sure not going to go off screen. I cannot emphasize it enough. The CSS command gets overridden by the OL command. This screen shows the two commands, long-winded and short. Type I or a style command. More of the same. Short command, long command. Here we are, lowercase Roman, and it's way over to the left. You can space it as you need, or you can use the shorter type equal lowercase I. Here is upper alpha, lowercase alpha. If you want to, you can use the Greek alphabet. I showed more letters of the alphabet just to demonstrate it. Gamma, delta, epsilon. And this is uppercase. Here we are, lowercase. Now there is no short version for the Greek alphabet, but there are also a whole bunch of other languages. You have so many things you can use. For the ones that we will be using mostly, there is the short version, but if you want to, you can look up and use Greek and many other languages. There is a default starting place for numbers. They start at 1. You don't have to tell it where to start. You can tell it to start other than at 1. And you don't have to use the style of numbers. This is default also. But I'm now going to be showing you to start at other than 1. Here we are starting at 0 instead of 1. And here we are starting at 4 for whatever reason. And I left 2 to the top, right, bottom, left. Here we are starting at 9. This one is interesting. I wanted to use the uppercase alphabet and start at the letter F, but you can't just say start at F. You have to count on your fingers and say start at 6 and use uppercase alpha. A, B, C, D, E, F. Another example of the same thing starting at C. Start at 3 and use upper alpha. You can also start with negative numbers. So here I told it to start at -1, and then the next number up is 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, and so forth. You can do a countdown starting at -10, 9, 8, 7, 6, and so on. Just start at -10. For single digit numbers, if you want to do so, you can put in a leading 0. You just put in this style command, decimal leading 0. And then this is for single digit numbers only. Here I am starting at -1, and then the next number is 0, 0, and then 0, 1, and so on. There can be leading zeros for single digit numbers only, and that's positive or negative, but there can be no leading zeros for 2 or 3 digit numbers. Now this is interesting. I told it to use uppercase Roman numerals and start at -8, but the command gets ignored, and then I realized the Romans never invented negative numbers, and they don't have leading zeros either, of course, because they don't use that concept. Impossible stuff will not work, and type I is ignored. Well, it has to do with history. The guy that used to run the treasury for the Roman Empire, his name was Publius Cronius, and we get the word cronyism from that. And when he got the empire $20 trillion in debt, Caesar just had him crucified. And that's why they don't have negative numbers. Of course, the Roman Empire didn't last either. Here I gave a conflicting instruction to start with 0, 99, and I told it to put in a leading 0. But once again, there is no 0 here. The leading 0 is for single digit numbers only. Here's a new concept. We're going to put the position outside. Well, that's default. This number is outdented. It's to the outside of the text anyway. You don't have to tell it to do that. So I've got it starting at -4, and the margin is at 4, so it's right here. And there is a leading 0, but I don't have to tell it to put this number to the outside, to the left of the text. Now in this one, I told it to put the position inside. So the margin command is different. The text wraps all the way around to the number. It doesn't wrap right here. And you might use that once in a while for something, but I can't think of anything. This combination you may use. Here I'm starting at 5. I'm using upper Roman numerals. The left margin is 2. But I'm also putting in this interesting command, indent the text to 3. And then outside is default anyway. So this is at 2. And then I'm telling it to text indent at 3. Actually, you will be adding 2 and 3, and this is 5. Sounds confusing, but it's really not. You're using this anyway. You probably are not using text indent, but if you do use text indent, then the first line will be indented that much. And what is that much? It's this plus this. But the Roman numerals are still outdented. You can put as many OL commands in the list as you want, so long as the syntax is correct, and we have extreme indent with outdented numbers. Same thing with the shorter command. Start at 5, type I, left margin 2, indent 3 more. I'm going to stop the video here, and the next video is going to be about outlines, and there's 4 ways to do it at least, some better than others, And the easiest one is the first one here, the nested outlines. But now I would like to, with your commission, quickly rip through the ebook of what has been here, and we will go to the ebook, and I will just go through the same stuff very, very fast. Here I'm going to page up, and we're going to go to the ebook, and now I'm going to go to the first page. And we'll just review this real quick. I'm just going to jump through it. Insert additional. You can highlight some text and put a bullet. Top one circle. Top circle, square, default. Now the UL wrapper creates 2 blank lines. Even if you put in text, you still get a blank line. Now I got rid of the top and bottom margins. Now I got rid of all of the margins. The margins can be put into the cascading style sheet. Here I've got 2 EM left margin. Everything's a circle. Everything's a square. None. Square overrides none. Square overrides circle. CSS command gets overridden by whatever is in the text, this square and circle business. The order of precedence. Here we've got OL. Got rid of the 2 blank lines. 1 EM left. If I don't put it in, we lose the numbers. Here's 2. I talked about how to do auto numbering by putting in new information. Actually, you don't have to do anything. You just put in new information. A new LI pair creates the number automatically. Now we've got lowercase Roman numerals. Roman numerals. Lowercase, uppercase, lowercase, Greek, Greek lower. Default numbering starts with 1. Now start 0. Now start 4. Start 9. Start 6, but using upper alpha, so it starts at F. Starts at upper C. Starts with a negative number. -10 for a countdown. -10 for a countdown with a leading 0 for single-digit numbers. Romans and their $20 trillion deficit. No leading 0 for 3 numbers or 2. Outside, inside, outside plus indent. Again. And now that's going to end the video, and next time we're going to talk about outlines.